Hello everybody and welcome back to Operation Logistics, where I'm still not exactly sure why this day tick isn't being called. In fact, I'm not sure that it isn't being called. Let's find out. Debug.log day tick called at time manager. Okay, I'm also going to comment out these because we do know that the old moment and the current time are different entities and they're not connected, which is exactly what I expected. So we can get rid of that, and with this, we can figure out if this is returning true, because old moment.day is not equal to current time.day. That should work. Let's find out. Let's go ahead and recompile this and stop the play and start it again. Then we should be able to get ourselves a day tick relatively quickly here. I mean, quickly-ish. Faster speed is about an hour per second. But that's okay. I mean, eventually I'm going to need to figure out, like, what's the scale of each of these levels of hexes and such, but for right now, that's fine. I'm more interested in figuring out why this day tick isn't being called. Yeah, it's not even called on the time manager. So that's the problem. The problem is this isn't working. If old moment.day is not equal to current time.day, I wonder. Plus old moment.toString debug.log. I'm wondering if it's, for whatever reason, changing old moment here as well as current time. That shouldn't be the case. Current time.toString, because this should allow us to compare it. I mean, we can make our own, but this should work. I just want to know what's going on here. Okay. (903, 903, 904, 904). That's not looking auspicious. Okay. There's the day tick. Let's go up here. Day tick happens right here. Yeah, they're always exactly the same. That's the problem. So we're going to have to roll our own system here. That's not the end of the world. Rather than doing it this way, I will just go ahead and say, we'll just have a series of integers. Int old hour equals, and this is going to be current time.hour. Int old day equals current time.day. Int old month equals, I'm going to cast this, actually I'm not going to. Month old month equals current time.month. And then int old year equals current time.year. Okay, we'll just do it this way. So if old hour is not equal to current time.hour, if old day, if old month, and if old year, that should work. There's no reason that won't work. So let's recompile that and just test that and make sure that the day tick is happening. If the day tick is happening, that should mean that all the ticks are happening. I mean, the hour tick is the same thing, but the day tick is kind of the more important one, realistically. Because that's when your finances would be updated and such. Kind of. Yeah, actually, that is when your finances would be updated. Okay, here comes the day tick. There we go. Daytick called it time manager. Daytick happened. Excellent. So the business had the daytick called, so we no longer need this here. And with this, that's good. So at the daytick, we would then say something along the lines of current funds equals current funds. And we're going to then say minus expected expenditure plus expected income. There we go. So on the daytick, our current funds will now change. And let's go ahead and update our business name field, or rather our financial text. Financial text.text equals, and this is going to be, we're just going to do this here again. So we're going to format this as a currency, and this is going to be, current funds dot toString, and we're going to be doing this as a currency, so I think using that toString tag will work. And then we will say plus, and then, actually, that'll be a minus, and then plus, this will be expected expenditure dot toString, also formatted as a currency, and then plus expected income dot toString, also formatted as a currency. However, we do need to have some closing parentheses here, and then an opening parenthesis here, and then a plus, and then a closing parenthesis here. Concatenate all the strings. Okay, so this should now just read 000, theoretically. And we will see. Object reference not set to instance of object. Of course not. I have not set this in the inspector. There we go. Now it is set in the inspector, and now it should work. Let's see here. Yeah. Okay, we are missing a space. We are missing a space here. There we go, fixed that. We can go ahead and go back to maximize on plate so that everybody can see a little bit better here. There we go. And I mean, we could combine these into a single one, but I think it's useful to be able to see your expenditure and your income. And we've got the room. So yeah, that should be fine. I'm going to go ahead and change our expected expenditure to be about, you know, 2474 and 11769. And we'll see what our... Yeah, see that automatically updates. And on the day tick, that should go ahead and put in our new balance. Now, the day tick isn't going to be resetting those just yet, but I just want to make sure that that's working properly. So we're going to be getting the same amount every day, which isn't what we want, for sure. But on the day tick, we will get our influx of money. There we go, $92.95. Excellent. Down here, I'm also going to say, at this point, expected income equals 0, and expected expenditure also equals 0. So that'll just completely reset it, and that'll be changed as things like register their ongoing costs, or as you make purchases. That might immediately come out of the current funds, or that might go into the expected expenditures. I think that'll probably come out of the current funds, realistically. So yeah, I think that's fine. And we've got our plane cost here, so let's also do a public float. The next one in the list is ship cost, which we have at 1,000 right now. And then public float train cost, which we also have at $1,000 a day. There we go. And public float truck cost, which we currently have at, what is 10,000 divided by 50? Let's find out. Oh, my calculator opened up on a different monitor. That's nice. 10,000 divided by 50. $200. Okay, that's probably a little high, but we can always adjust that down later. Okay, so there's our balance variables for the cost of those things. And then header inventory. And this is simply going to be public int planes equals 0. You start with no planes. Public int, this next one is ships equals 0. You start with no ships. Public int trains equals 0. You start with no trains. Public int trucks equals, we'll say 1. Okay, so at this point, our expected expenditure should probably not be 0. It should be equals planes times plane cost plus ships times ship cost plus trains times train cost plus trucks times truck cost. Okay, so now we are guaranteed to have an expenditure on the day tick only. So that's not going to update for the first day. And we'll probably start the game actually with, you know, like, I don't know, $2,500 or something along those lines. So we'll go ahead and let that compile. There we go. Current funds, $2,500, and we'll set our expected expenditure immediately to be $200. I feel like 200 is way too much for a truck. We'll adjust that down to 50 already. And I feel like trains should be maybe more like 500, ships 1,000 because of their sheer bulk, but they're kind of slow. And planes should be maybe a little bit more. We'll go with that for now. We'll see how it feels later on. We'll probably have some more balancing passes to make on that. But first, we need to make it so that we can actually use those things, right? So let's go ahead and go. Now, this up here isn't going to be changing just now. But you can see here, we have a $50 expenditure, we have $2,500, and we are not making any money. So if we just let this run, we will eventually go into debt, which is probably not a good thing. Is going into debt essentially bankruptcy? Is that a game over state? Or can you get loans? I don't know yet. We'll figure that out later on, I think. So for right now, we need to get ourselves our texts up here all updating. So public tmpro dot, and this is going to be text mesh pro UGUI. So another one of these, and this is going to be planes text. Public tmpro dot text mesh pro UGUI, and this is going to be ships text. Public tmpro dot text mesh pro UGUI, and this is going to be trucks text. I skipped trains, didn't I? Yes, I did. Public tmpro dot text mesh pro UGUI. Trains text. There we go. Okay, so we've got all of these text, well, we've got a reference to them, and we can go ahead and update them as well as the financial text. So I'm going to go ahead and say planes text dot text equals, and we're going to set this to be the number plus what type plus how much it costs. Okay. So this is going to be planes.toString plus planes. Probably need a space here and here and a minus plus, and this is going to be planes times plane cost dot toString C plus, and then a closing parenthesis. Let's go ahead and assign these in the inspector quick. As soon as it compiles. There we go. Planes text, and then ships, and then trains, and then trucks. Excellent. And let's just make sure that our planes properly updates. Yep, perfect. 0 planes costing us nothing. Excellent. So we're going to do the exact same thing. In fact, I'm just going to copy it and paste it 4 times. But instead of planes, the next will be ships text equals ships.toString. So ships plus ships plus ships times ship cost dot toString. Excellent. And then the same thing for trains. So trains text equals trains.toString plus trains times train cost. There we go. And finally, trucks text equals trucks.toString plus trucks times truck cost. Okay. And now that should be all of them properly updating and giving us a bit of a breakdown on where our costs are coming from. Excellent. There we go. So we can now see we're spending $50 a day, and that's on a truck. Perfect. And then if we were to run this for a day, obviously we're not blocking up there yet, we may switch over to a screen space camera. We're probably going to have to redo how we have our tooltip, but that's not the end of the world. The tooltip needs some work anyway. So on our day tick, you will see that our finances will go down. And there it goes. Excellent. Okay. So realistically, the question is, now what? Now that we've kind of gotten all of this implemented, all of this UI here, I think our next step is to just test screen space camera rendering on the main camera at a plane distance of not 100, but maybe like 10. So that doesn't change anything visually, but we'll see how that works. Okay, the tooltip appears to be exactly correct. And hey, our blocker is working. That's perfect, actually. That's basically all I could have hoped for. So you can see our UI is now floating above the world in a interesting manner. And we can go ahead and mess with some of this. So I'm looking at this and I'm wondering... First off, I kind of want to make it so that our strategy camera here has a edge threshold that is much, much lower. Maybe about 5 pixels near the edge. So we'll go ahead and adjust that. And then the next thing I want to do is I want to look at our colliders here. So obviously we have this collider that's set up about right. We will go ahead and add another collider here. And this will be at a slightly different position. I'm going to go ahead and make this be also 40, but a X width of a much, much wider amount. And the position will need to be a little bit different as well. This here is what, 200 wide? 264 wide, actually. Oh wait, this time layout group is 274.5. We'll call it 275. So we'll have this be a width of 275, and we will have the center X position be over here, which is 823. Sure. Probably close enough. And then we'll just place the Y position up over here. I mean, we don't need it to be absolutely pixel perfect. Maybe 822.5. That'll work. And then a Y position of right about here. We'll call it 480. That'll be fine. And now the question is, what happens to those colliders when we change our aspect ratio? That's what I thought. That's exactly what I thought would happen. So I think what we need to do is I think we need to do a empty in here that is a rect transform. Add our box collider here and have our rect transform be right exactly where it is. And then 19, 20, 40, and then maybe have our pivot point be like 1, 1 instead. Position X of 0, 0. Kind of like that. And then the box collider, actually I think we need to just have a separate object. So we'll have this be up here, 0.5 and 1. Okay. That's a little surprising to me. I expected it to be down here. Oh, I think I know why. We can just move it here, like so. Okay. So now, if we change our aspect to, say, 3:2, it just pops over. Theoretically, anyway. Let's make sure that this is actually updating by pulling out our game view here. And 16, well, we'll do 5:4. Yep, that's updating. Free aspect. 16:9. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to call this the top bar collider. And I'm going to place this down inside of the top bar. Right there. Okay, so that should work fine now. I'm going to duplicate it and place it inside of the time layout group. Actually, just above the time layout group inside the time BKG. And I'm going to call this the time BKG collider. Actually, just time bar collider. And I'm going to go ahead and rename this as well from time BKG to time bar. Okay. And this will need to be 275 wide. And I'm going to go ahead and put the pivot point over here. Like so. We have a position being driven by the layout group, I think. It's a wee bit awkward. We can go ahead and just place this over like so. About 90 pixels. Not plus 0. 90 pixels. That's a bit much. 88? 87. 87 pixels it is. Okay, so we now have ourselves some colliders up there, so we don't click through the UI anymore. The next question is, are they far enough back so that we can still click the buttons? Yes, they are. Perfect. So you can see we can click the buttons, but it doesn't click through to what's behind over here anymore. Oh my. Okay, so when we zoom in with the UI being attached to the camera, the UI actually goes behind the world right now. So that happens. We'll place this in the UI layer and see if that does anything to help it there. And see if we can change the render order here a bit. Forget how exactly that is done. I think you'd need a second camera for the UI. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how that works. The other option, of course, is that we can... I mean, it being in the UI layer is fine. I'm going to go ahead and do that anyway. But the other option is, instead of having it be, 10 pixels, or 10 away, we can have it be 1 away. and see if that still goes behind the terrain here. We'll see. We may go for a second UI camera. Yeah, I think we will. So I'm going to go ahead and create a 3D object, actually just create a camera here. And this is going to be the UI camera. There we go. This is going to be a deferred camera. And this is going to be clear flags of don't clear. We're going to set this instead of main camera. It will be UI camera. And then the UI camera will need to render over the main camera. Let's see if that's currently happening. Let's see. Oh, that's exciting stuff right there. Okay, we'll need to move the UI camera somewhere kind of safe. So let's just see where the UI camera is right now. It's currently there. I'm going to place it at 0, 0, 0, 0, and I want it to only render the... Actually, we don't need a second audio listener there, but I want it to only be rendering a couple of things. One, I want it to be clipping anything that isn't more than 2 away. And 2, I only want it to be rendering UI. So, culling mask, just UI. Okay. Let's see if that works. Now that's more like it. Excellent. And this should still work, and indeed it does. Fantastic. Okay, don't bother allowing MSAA there. We will have our own AA solution eventually from the Unity... I forget what they call it. The Unity post-processing stack is what they call it. So we're only rendering the UI with this camera now. We are not rendering anything else. We are not clearing it. And we should probably go ahead and make sure that our depth is correct here. So the main camera is at -1, the UI camera is at 0. So I believe a camera with a larger depth is drawn on top. That's perfect. Okay, that's correctly set up. So we've now got ourselves a UI camera, and our UI camera will correctly block the click-through for our UI, and it will not go through the terrain anymore. So that is basically working as expected. Excellent. And our UI camera is not rendering very much. In fact, we can probably have it be like 0.9 to 1.1, so it's only rendering that tiny, tiny little frustum. Yeah, it's only rendering where the UI is, pretty much. Just like that. We can even bump this up one more significant figure. Like that. Rendering just that tiny little area where the UI is. And that's all it does. And it only renders things that are tagged as UI. So that's perfect. Well, it's time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we might start in on making some actual gameplay. Wouldn't that be interesting? See you all next time.